Hi everyone, it's Laura here from Yoga Love Collective. Today I am going to be talking you through a really short tutorial on Pincha Mayurasana. Pincha Mayurasana, or peacock feather pose, is a forearm balance, and it is a very challenging position. It's a very challenging arm balance. It's also an inversion where we're going upside down. And I want to spend a moment or two going through some tips that hopefully I can share with you that might benefit your practice. So I always recommend that if you're coming to practice this posture, that you have done some warming up beforehand. So I'm going to assume that you're warm. So maybe taking 10 or 15 minutes prior to this tutorial to move through some salutations, some shoulder openers, perhaps some shoulder strengthening positions. Okay, that isn't something that we're going to do in this tutorial. We're just literally going to be working on the actual technique and some tips and tricks to come into the posture. So provided that you feel warm in your body and that you've done sufficient practice to open up your shoulders and create some heat in your body, I invite you to come to your mat and we shall make a start. So I'm going to ask you to, whilst you come to your yoga mat, come down onto the knees, and I'm going to just quickly go through the placement of the arms in forearm balance. So most traditionally and most typically, the hands are parallel with the elbows, and the elbows are about shoulder distance apart. And then we come up into our dolphin and we walk our feet forward. From dolphin, we come into the inversion by elevating the leg and hopping up into the posture. Now, I'm not showing you from there because that's not the way that I practice it. I've spent many an hour working on this posture. I've also attended many workshops on this posture, and you're always going to find a teacher that will tell you perhaps something different, okay? And so most commonly, I was instructed, and you also might be familiar with instruction from your own teachers, to bring the hands parallel to the, or in line with the elbows. Now for me personally, as I said, this isn't the way that I practice. I like to bring my thumbs, if I can show you here, my thumbs together on the floor, my elbows in the same place as they would be if the hands were in line with the elbows. But I like to bring my thumbs slightly closer together, okay? This is a personal thing. This is my personal preference. For me, it feels better in my body, okay? So I really want you to own how it feels in your body. And if you're not having much success with hands apart, in line with your elbows, and you're finding it challenging, you're finding it's really restrictive around your shoulders to lift up, then try to bring the hands a little bit closer. Yeah, there's a slight moving inward of the palms, right? And our forearms, our forearm bones, our lower arm bones are coming toward each other, all right? But the elbows are still shoulder width apart. So that's the first thing, my first offer, and it's simply an offer. As I say, as you practice your practice, as you go through your own yoga practice, you will come across many different schools of teaching, many different techniques. And as long as it's safe for you, as long as it's safe in your body, and you're not going to do any long-term damage by adjusting your body in a way such as that, then I personally see no harm in making those slight adjustments, okay? So we're going to bring the hands down onto the floor. Elbows are about as wide as my shoulders. okay? And again, this is providing that you're warm and that you've done some preparation before now. So coming up onto your toes, lifting your knees off the floor, and then begin to walk your feet forward and allow your hips to move up above your shoulders. This is about as far as I can go. I feel like I still have a little bit more work to do in creating more length in the hamstrings, so that the hamstrings, the group in the muscle group in the back of the legs, we're asking a lot of them to bring the hips up, and also we're asking a lot of the shoulders as we come into this movement with the arms above the head, okay? So what we're essentially doing in Pincha Mayurasana, and also, for example, in your headstand, if you have headstand in your practice, we're essentially trying to bring the hips above the shoulders. In the initial transition, when we walk the feet forward, we're trying to bring the hips above the shoulders. And when we have the alignment there with the pelvis, the shoulders, and the head, we're far more likely, yeah, to be able to elevate the legs and come into balance, okay? So we are essentially trying to do the same thing here in Pincha Mayurasana. So when I have been in my own practice, practicing with this, as I say, in my opinion, very challenging arm balance, I was doing everything and anything in order to get my hips up above my shoulders. As I say, for me, in my body, my hamstrings and my shoulders aren't quite fully able at this point to bring my hips above my shoulders from my dolphin. Do you get what I'm saying? So if I come up here and I walk my feet in, right, this is probably as far as I can go, okay? I really am at sort of breaking point, okay? So now I have an easier job to come up into my balance because my hips are better situated over my shoulders, okay? So if you're still finding that you are not quite at that point yet, or you're working toward that point, and we're using perhaps a little bit more strength to get up into the balance, then this is where perhaps we can use some modifications, if you will, for want of a better word, to get us up into the balance, okay? So when I started to really explore ways in which to do that, whilst not having the flexibility and the shoulder strength to come up and stack my hips and elevate my feet, okay, I was coming through stag legs. I was using stag legs as a way of getting my hips and my pelvis over my shoulders. And then from there, also working with split legs, okay? So let me try and show you. I'm not sure how much I can do and talk at the same time, so I'll do my best. So we'll start actually with one knee in, so keeping one leg tucked into the body and one leg is going to be straight, okay? So you're going to find out, if you don't already know, which is your dominant leg, which you like to kick up with, okay? And you're going to work with that leg consistently, all right? Don't, in my opinion, whilst you're working to come into the posture, try and stay with that just one side. Build your confidence, okay? Build your confidence and build the trust coming into the shape before you perhaps start changing sides. Be sure of which leg is your dominant leg and then just stick with that side. This is my opinion. Some other teachers might disagree with that and say that you need to be doing it on both sides. Absolutely, in the long term, we want to be, as yoga is all about balance, we want to make sure that we're balancing out the right side and the left side, and we're not just overly compensating with strength through one side of the body. But initially, in my opinion, if you're really working on coming into this balance, stick with what you know, yes, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And if that means repeating on the same side, then just keep doing that thing until you can really begin to build your confidence up in the balance And then maybe start to, okay, now I'm going to incorporate the second leg. Now I know how it feels to get up there. I'm going to start bringing the other side in. So for now, I want you to work out which is your dominant side, which is your dominant leg you're going to kick up with, okay? So you figure out your hand placement, okay? You're walking your feet in as much as you can. And I want you to look in between your arms, right? On the floor, on your mat, find a mark on the floor to look at, okay? And then raise your dominant leg, okay? And then from here, you're going to think about shifting the weight forward. And the foot that's underneath, you're going to bend, the leg that's underneath that you're hopping from is going to be bent, and the leg in the air is going to stay straight. I'll try not to talk and concentrate. Okay, and so what we're essentially doing, okay, is using the dominant leg that we're kicking up with as a lever, right, to bring the hips and the pelvis up and over. And once we have the stacking, or the weight is displaced in that way, with the hips and pelvis over the shoulders and the head, we're far better able, does that make sense? We're far more able to hold the balance, okay? So for me, I would use every which way I could possibly do in order to get up there and build my confidence up in the balance. So if you're kicking up and you're trying to bring your leg up directly up, your legs up and your legs straight, and you're not having any joy with that, I want you to try, okay, I'm just going to do one leg, I'm going to raise my leg up, send it over, and my underside leg is going to come in toward me. And I just want you to keep repeating that thing over and over and over and over and over again until you find success in coming into your balance. What that will also do is bring you into spinal extension, right? So you're naturally going to come into a back bend because your dominant leg is kicking over and your pelvis is moving with your leg, right? And you're coming into a back bend. So as long as that feels okay in your body, obviously you know yourself more than anyone else, okay? Make sure you rest plenty in order to rest your back if you're feeling it. If it doesn't feel good, I want you to try something else. Let me try again to demonstrate, okay? We're using the dominant leg, we're kicking it up, and we're sending it over as far as we can, whilst bringing the underside leg in. We're keeping the underside leg bent at all times, okay? So, you can figure out where your hands are. Maybe your thumbs are touching, your hands are on the floor, or maybe your hands are apart and that feels okay in your body and that's also okay, all right? And then I want you to find somewhere on the floor, so in between your forearms, maybe slightly further toward your thumbs, and you're going to look at that point, okay, like your life depends on it, all right? Come on up, walk your feet forward as far as you can. Take a breath in to prepare, and a breath out. Raise your dominant leg, come onto the ball of the underside foot, bend your underside knee, and take your hop, reaching your top leg overhead. Making sure you take time to pause in your child's pose. Okay. Okay, so I want you to try that technique. And if you're having success with that technique, just keep doing the same thing, right? Keep doing it, repeat it, do it again and again and again, all right? If something is working, keep doing it. If it is not working for you, if it hurts your back, right? If it really hurts you, or it just doesn't feel right, or you're not having success for whatever reason, okay, after a consistent effort, then mix it up, try something different. Don't be afraid to change something. This is something I say with my clients all the time. We get kind of hung up sometimes. It needs to be this way. It needs to be here. I have to have my back straight. For sure, all of these things might be correct, but we have to listen to our body, okay? We have to also recognize that we might need something completely different from how it's been taught to us on a YouTube tutorial or from our teacher, right? Our bodies are going to respond differently. So please listen. It really is important that you don't be afraid to try something different. So the next technique I'll show you is with both legs bent, okay? And what this allows me and my body to achieve is, again, it's allowing me to lift my hips above my hips and my pelvis above my shoulders quite quickly, and I keep the legs bent, so I stay quite small, yeah? My body is quite small, and when I bend my knees, I'm really activating my legs, so there's a firmness, there's a strength coming from the legs, which draws down into the groin, into the pelvic floor, into the belly, so the whole of my body feels quite small, quite compact, and quite strong. But the key here is the top leg, and I'll come into some demonstration to show you, okay? So your hand placement is going to be the same. Your eye placement is going to be the same. And we're still working here with a back bend, okay? We're still working with, this will naturally bring us into a back bend, where we're going to be rounding, arching the lower back, okay? Because what we're trying to do now is really build our confidence to get up there, right? And to stay up there. And in order for you to create that confidence and trust, you need the technique to get up there. And then you can start to refine it, okay? Okay, so I'll quickly demonstrate. Making sure you're connecting into your breath. I'm going to stay with my dominant leg. I'm going to raise my leg up. Now here I'm going to bend the knee. So I want you to think about your split dog hip opener. Now my knee is turning out. I'm going to bend the underside leg. And hop up, keeping both of my knees bent. Both of the legs are active. And then take time to come down and release the back into child's pose. Okay, so excuse me, you can see from my body shape, the back bend in the lower back, all right? But what we're trying to do, as I say, I'm going to keep repeating myself, the aim here is to get up, right? And once we get up there, we can begin to experience it, right? How does this feel? Okay, what's required of me? What do I need to do in my upper body? Okay, I can start refining this. I realize now I have to really press into my forearms. I have to find space in the chest. I have to look forward. I have to breathe. And then once we build that confidence there, we can start to refine it. Okay, it's so important. So another point to mention, when we do come into a natural back bend like that, and I've asked you particularly to look slightly forward, okay, when we find a way into the balance, you'll find that you'll be pressing into your forearms, okay? Your shoulders are going to be working really, really hard, and you'll be pressing the floor away, you'll be coming back into it, pressing the floor away, coming back into it. It's like your body just goes into sort of automatic pilot and begins to kind of be the brake between you collapsing onto the floor and staying away from it. And so when we're in that back bend and we're looking slightly forward, your shoulder blades or your shoulders will most likely be moving slightly together, yeah? I know I've got a top one you probably can't see, but we're coming into retraction, okay? So the shoulders are coming together and there's like a crevice in between my shoulder blades, okay? Opposed to, or in opposition to protraction, yeah? Where I'm moving my shoulder blades away from each other, So retraction, protraction. So when we're in a back bend, which is what we've been doing here, in both variations actually, there is a slight, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a slight, I want to say concave, where we're bringing the shoulders together. There's like a slight crevice in between the shoulder blades, okay? Let me try my best again to show you, because we're looking slightly forward. So we'll do side legs, bend your dominant leg and lift up, your knees pointing out. And that's going to help you as you kick up. Can you see how my right hip, woohoo, is lifting already high above the shoulders, okay? So now my shoulders are moving together behind my back, right? They're coming toward each other. My chest is expanding. Okay? Release. So it's the same movement that you do in your cat-cow. Yeah, that feeling there. You do your cat-cow on your forearms. So protraction, retraction. And that's the feeling, that's the sensation you want, okay? Okay, so that's your second tip. So I worked with those two variations for quite a long time. The first one in particular, in order to get used to getting up there. So by using my dominant leg, by sending it over and beyond, I was able to lift my pelvis and my hips, okay? Okay, then you can work with your standing split, not standing split, so you can work with your splits. So same as the first variation, but you're going to straighten your underside leg, okay? And we're still in a back bend, we're still looking forward, and we still have retraction of the shoulders where they're coming together behind us, all right? So I'll quickly show. Always making sure you take lots of rest time. Okay. All right. So, as I said earlier on, sometimes we get so consumed by, we lift up, we've got to bring the feet together. So this like, oh, this crazy kind of like, bring the feet together, bring the legs together, and we kind of lose all control. So in this particular variation, we're really working on sending the feet apart from each other, and this reaching away from, toes reaching away from each other, whilst keeping the hips above the shoulders, and by creating that back bend, right, we're finding the control in our arms. By bringing the shoulder blades together, we're working through the strength in the chest and the front of the shoulders, okay? So try that variation for me as well, if that is resonating with you. So if you have splits in your practice, even if splits on the floor isn't in your practice, think about that. Think about the weight of your legs and how that actually is working in terms of the physics of it, you know, how we're displacing our body weight evenly, and you'll find this sort of sweet balance between it, okay? So that's my third recommendation, yeah, that you try that leg variation as you come into your pincha. And then once you, as I say, like a broken record, but once you build the confidence to get there, okay, and you feel what it feels like to be there, then perhaps you can start to bring the feet together. This is just in my experience, right? And remember, this is just my journey, this is my experience. So take what you want from it and leave the rest. I'm going to try my best now to show you pincha with legs up together. And this is in my body, so I'm still working on reducing the back bend and working on shoulder protraction. So where the shoulder blades are moving away from each other. Yeah, so we're doming into the upper back. Yeah, and concaving, there you go, there's the word, concaving into the chest. all right? And eventually, we can think about drawing the head underneath us, where we begin to look back. And then we have that, the final expression of the posture, where the feet, the hips, the pelvis, the shoulders and the head are in a beautiful straight line, okay? We'll see how we go. So, I always begin by looking forward. Okay, I think we're at a strong disadvantage when we bring the head straight underneath, when we try and kick up. I like to begin by looking slightly forward. So again, see how that feels in your body first, okay? Okay, I wasn't quite able to bring the head all the way under there, but it takes a lot of practice, right? It takes a lot of practice. But move slowly. Yeah, it's one of the best bits of advice I could get. Let go of that like incessant need to get up there. Move slowly. And I spent a really long time when I was practicing Pincha, when I first started. So I remember when I first started yoga, when I was really practicing consistently. So 6 years ago now, I remember when I first came across this posture in a hot yoga class in Manchester, and I remember coming into Dolphin, and I thought, oh my word, like this is insane. I remember coming up onto my forearms and literally collapsing onto my face. I think I was there for about 3 milliseconds. And I just saw my teacher and I saw other students come into it. I just thought, oh my word, like I can never do that. It's not on my body. My shoulders are too tight. There's no way. But I am quite stubborn. And if you're watching this, it's because you've connected with yoga and it's because you've connected with your yoga practice. And so if like me, it kind of almost gets under your skin, right? But it's not just that. It's not just this attainment for physical strength or beauty, right? It's not about that at all. It's about actually believing that we can do it. Like, I honestly can't tell you that feeling, or maybe you felt it yourself, you know. I genuinely thought there's just no way my body can do that. And it has literally taken me 6 years. I don't think I was practicing that frequently because I was in that kind of story that I couldn't do it for quite a long time. But when I started teaching, I was incorporating that into my classes, you know, but all the while I was still learning how to do it myself. And during that time, I spent most of the time at the wall. So if you're using the wall, that's completely cool. I was there for a really, really long time. And then I went to a workshop. It was an inversion, an arm balance and inversion workshop. And the teacher made us all fall over. I remember it. It was quite a remarkable shift for me. And I felt so liberated learning how to fall. And I know that that isn't for everyone. Most of our, it's a tricky one, isn't it? We are restricted in many different ways. Some of those restrictions can be physical restrictions. And there are things in our yoga practice, there are things in my yoga practice that I just can't do, like anatomically, I just can't do. And so it's important that we recognize that and give ourselves permission perhaps to leave that posture, or just to say, yeah, you know what, I can't do that, my body just doesn't move that way, and that's okay. But also, can we begin to recognize if the barrier is actually in the mind? And a lot of the barrier can be situated around fear. Yeah, fear of hurting ourselves, fear of injury, fear of looking silly, fear of falling. And so if the falling aspect is just something that you just don't want to visit, you don't want to go there, then I'm not going to make you, right? I'm not going to make you do that because you're going to get pinched better or faster. If you stay at the wall, then stay at the wall. But sometimes we can get too comfortable. It can become our crutch, can't it? So if you're able to start moving away from it and build your confidence, and even if you're working with, say, for example, split legs, come away from the wall far enough so that you have range to reach your leg over and dance with tapping the wall with your toes, okay? But I got to a point in my practice where the wall was actually inhibiting me from progressing. So you're going to know. You're going to know where that is. You're going to know which at which point perhaps you feel in your gut, yeah, your intuition is telling you, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to change. But hopefully those suggestions of how to bring the hips up above the shoulders, hopefully that will really help you in your practice to get up there and find some balance. For me, it really, really helped. And then, as I say, I was able to start sort of condensing all of those things, all of those teachings, all of those aspects, refining it, refining it, refining it, refining it, refining it, until I was able to come into a place where there was alignment, not just in my body, but also in the way that it felt and the way that it feels in my body. So I really hope this has helped. Pincha Mayurasana can be fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun with it. And really, the biggest secret, how to do it, practice. Yeah, if I could, if I could give you the biggest secret, it really is to keep practicing. If it's something that you want to have as part of your practice, if you want to have it in your asana itinerary, you got to keep practicing, right? You've got to be doing it every single day. I've been doing it every single day now for at least the last 3 years consistently. Don't give up, right? Lots of love. Let me know how you get on. And yeah, thank you so much. Namaste.